like to welcome everyone back to theflirtingguy.com. Today I have two important messages for America. One is a vision given to the Apostle of Jesus Christ, T.D. Hale. Another is an analogy of America and ancient Egypt, and how the destinies are both the same. The analogy was given to one of our sisters in Jesus Christ, Glynda Lomax. I want everybody to listen to both because they are both important to understand before I discuss both of them at the end. And this might be a very long sermon. For the first part of this video, I'm going to be reading from True News with Rick Wiles and guest T.D. Hale from 3/27/2012 of this year. So at the beginning of the year, almost. Pastor T.D. Hale is a pastor of Calvary Christian Center in Galapagos, Iowa. He can be reached at www.calvaryapostolisticalia.com. Pastor Rick Wiles is senior pastor at Flowing Streams Church in Vero Beach. Rick Wiles is also the owner of trunews.com. Rick Wiles, True News, guest T.D. Hale, 3/27/12. Expert, I started the audio at 14 minutes 7 seconds, December 28, 2011 was when this was recorded. T.D. Hale, in a dream I began to see myself going across America, floating in air and looking across. And I have no fear at all about what I am seeing. Then all of a sudden I see bombs had landed everywhere. The land was totally destroyed. I saw that things were totally wiped, grass, trees, everything. There was nothing left, nothing on the trees. It was total disaster. This was everywhere I could see. When I saw this, I saw people standing around their homes and things that were left holding on to each other. I saw people who had lain dead. I began to hear the screams and the cries of people. This should never have happened, they said. They kept saying this over and over. Oh Lord, this should never have happened. Life had changed, you could tell. There was no food, no water. I could see babies crying and grown-ups crying. Men were crying and holding on to their families, begging God for mercy. As I kind of moved along, I seen people running, looking for their missing loved ones. They were completely out of their minds. Insanity had taken over. I saw suicide, people slinging themselves off the bridges and things. If you survive the destruction, you will become a slave to the invaders. Both Rick Wiles and T.D. Hale agree on this in the audio. People were totally distraught. Dream 2, T.D. Hale. I saw in another dream the very next night I had come upon and went into a wooded area where people were camping. But they weren't camping, they were hiding. I saw some federal government officials coming around the wooded area and taking them off to some kind of processing place. I was in front of this building, and this building looked like the days of Hitler. I felt I had entered into a death camp, and it sickened me what I saw. I knew America was about to change. I saw the adults being handcuffed, taken into cars, children being taken with them, eventually 2 elder people. I saw the federal men say they were from the U.S. government. They said, "You are under arrest." I knew they were running from that. I was transported from there to their tents right before they were arrested. The men looked tattered. The men looked like they hadn't taken a bath in ages. There were gallons of jugs of water. They were trying to light a fire and not bring attention to themselves, but they had already been found out. The government officials took them to this area, a building. It looked modernized, but was not like what you see today. Things were very run down. I didn't see inside, but I did see the rail cars around this place. They were old military bases of some sort that had been modernized and painted. The people were taken in, processed. I even saw them finger painted. I knew we were in trouble, and this was a path we could not turn around from. Dream 1, T.D. Hale. I came over a large city that looked like Columbus, Ohio. I lived in a town called Gallopolis, Ohio, 2.5 hours from Columbus. That's when I see mass hysteria, riots, and windows being busted, people grabbing things left and right. When I saw it, I didn't see people grabbing things like TVs or computers or electronic things. I saw people running, grabbing food. They were grabbing water, anything they could get their hands on to sustain their life. It was all about survival. This was different than the riots in the past. They had come into the stores by the thousands, and they were slinging TVs out of the way. They were trying to grab the food, the bread, the cases of water, just for survival. They were fighting among themselves. One man grabbed a gun out of his pocket and shot another man in the head, right in front of my eyes. As I left this place, I was going the speed of light, and I was standing on the back side of the White House now. And as I stood there, I looked up and had to tell you something about this part. I heard the voice of God say, "Look up to the Truman balcony." I knew what a balcony was, but I didn't know the balcony had a name. Truman was the president around 1947 and 48. The dream was of the Lord. Rick Wiles. Truman was a Freemason. He was the vice president who became the president after Roosevelt, the first to drop a nuclear bomb on Nagasaki, Japan. Remember that, folks. Intel agencies, FBI, CIA, came together at Harry S. Truman's presidency. T.D. Hale. I saw Obama standing on the balcony, and I see in his hand a shotgun. On the left-hand side, I heard a loud scream, real loud, and when I turned, I could see where the scream was coming from. Flying high in the air was a majestic eagle. I knew the scream was an eagle. Obama pointed that shotgun to that eagle and shot it dead, and it fell to the ground. I looked up back at him, and just he had a smile on his face, like a smirk. There were the words I heard in my dream. I've done it, and I won't have to deal with this in my administration, is what Obama said. Then there was dead silence. Then God's voice said, tell the people that this is my will, that this is my hand. This is the hand of the Almighty, both upon the generation of the righteous and upon the cursed. The righteous will find their way and know what to do. The cursed will wander around with no compass, because the cup is full. Obama is eroding the foundation of America, continues T.D. Hale. He has trampled on the Constitution. I believe and see that each time he does something, it is eroding our country. He's bringing it down to nuts, so we cannot even see the light of day. He is a total wrecking ball for this nation. Several years back in 2004, when he spoke at the National Convention for John Kerry, I knew that he would play a great political part in our country. I have several people I told he would be a president on one day, and he ran for president. I told their church in 2004 he would be elected president of the United States. Obama does all this because he has an agenda. He was put in with an agenda, and I see that agenda eroding our country. He has caused great heartache and sorrow among the people today. Obamacare is not going to be good for America. Obama is challenging the churches. It will come to a spot where he doesn't even have to ask Congress or any of us. This is the will of God, because he sets up kings and takes down kings. We know that everything is in the hand of the Almighty. We know what he is doing, God is going to put into effect. It's going to come about. His administration, everything happening, is going to affect all of us. We have to pray that the Lord will take this and help us understand. God has everything under control. We have to accept that. This was the last act God does to bring punishment to his people, to bring them back to him and be caught up and destroyed with the rest of the nation. People have their heads buried in their hands with everything that is happening. He sent the prophets to warn Israel, but people and God wouldn't do that. God did what he said. Israel apologized, but it was too late. What's happening in America, shedding of innocent blood, putting God out of the nation, our policies, keeping God out of the school systems. We now have a young, rebellious generation. Right is wrong and wrong is right. They have enacted policies and protected the ungodly. How many religious are being allowed into America to basically take over? These other gods have their people building temples, mosques, and they are protected. If we want to say something as a Christian, they say it's a hate crime and wrong. They can do what they want to, and it is bringing other gods in and allowing them in our nation. There are no voices in the churches, even the pastors. Muslims look at the way we live here and see there's nothing but filth over here. They don't want it over there. The pastors and people think there's no urgency. They have their heads in the sand. Next in the dream, at that point, we were coming to a showdown between good and evil. I saw people gathering in their homes, and those there were in prayer meetings, praying in the Spirit. I heard God say, tell my servants that in my hand a special anointing reside on you in these days. Hold not back your voice, but speak your hearts. Out of them is the issue of life. Pick up the manner of prayer and cover yourselves in a secret place of prayer. Their eyes would be anointed with a special anointing, and there were others that would be blinded to my word. All things would be revealed in their due course. A supernatural wave of the Spirit would come over this generation very soon. The final voices are in the land to speak one last time. Through the ministries of the tapes and DVDs and books they would have to in their possession, that God would give them that spiritual food to sustain them in these times. God did say there was a harsh day coming. Also, all of a sudden it changed in the dream, and I heard God, and I saw in front of me a very old table. Listen, folks, this is very important for everybody to listen to. And I saw in front of me a very old table. I knew there had been special documents signed on this table, and I hesitate to say this, but I saw a voting ballot laying on the table. And as I looked at the ballot, I saw two names. I saw the president's name on the ballot, and I saw Mitt Romney's name on the ballot, and I saw all of a sudden I seen the President of the United States name checkmarked. I knew what that meant. I saw written on the ballot, for this is the will of the Lord. I am 100% sure that Obama will win this election, said T.D. Hale. So you can take this at what you want, but Obama will win. Rick Wiles, what the Christians are given is an occultist Mormon, a bishop in the Mormon church, who is a pro-abortion, pro-homosexual marriage. And that is our choice, America. That's what the Republicans are giving America as a choice. America's days are numbered and the handwriting's on the wall. Okay, folks, that's the end of the first one. I'm going right into the second one right after this little introduction. This next speech is an analogy of Egypt's false gods and America's false gods. It's a good indication that things will be taken away after things start spiraling downward in America. This analogy is from a female deacon named Glynda Lomax. She talks to God and Jesus every week. Ask yourselves how much faith she must have to be so special that they talk to her every single week. She has helped a lot of us by sharing God's words. A lot of times she never knew how much help she had been. And I'm testament to that one. Comparisons between Egypt and the United States. 10 plagues against Egypt from Exodus. Comparison 1. Our president and the Pharaoh. We worship many false gods. Each plague sent to Egypt was an attack on one of their revered false gods. Each plague was to show the Egyptians that their gods could not protect them or save them. God will judge us in idolatry the same way. Exodus 7. Turning the Nile River into blood. Egyptians worshipped the Nile River as a god. The Egyptians called it the father of gods, or father of life. Egyptians abhorred blood. They worshipped a god that was called Happy, who was considered the god of the Nile River. The Nile River was considered the source of Egyptians' great power. Egypt at the time was a great world power. Americans sinned by most the greatest country in the world. The Lord struck the Nile with blood, and all the fish died because of the water they needed to drink. What's in it for America? What's our false god? Our god of great wealth. False god of wealth, or god of Mammon. Our wealth would be our economy. Our wealth is our life of America. How would one bring death to that? The Lord would do this by a terrible crash or recession of the economy, one that hasn't happened yet. People's wealth will not protect them or save them. Exodus 8, the frog plague. The frog god of Egypt, causing them to abhor frogs. Psalm 78:45. Diverse source of flies devour them, and frogs which destroyed them. Psalms 105:30. God brought forth frogs in abundance in the bedchambers of the kings. There was no place to hide. Egypt had a number of frog gods and goddesses. The most popular was Heket. Heket was the goddess of fertility and childbirth. The next was Isis, who was the goddess of fertility and symbolized new life. A frog was thought to be good luck. Now in their new lives was heaps of dead frogs fouling everything. What once brought them luck had now become a curse. America, what's our false god compared to this one? America, the false god of beauty and image. America worships beauty and image. Some ministries see it as a frog. God will attack it. Where once beauty and image was a blessing, it is now going to be a curse in some circumstances, especially after famine drought. Invasion by another country and occupied by the enemy becomes a definite curse. Exodus 8, the lice plague. Egyptian insect god, Seth, earth god. Lice are itchy and bothersome, and above all, unclean, even to the Egyptians. America, entitlement. We worship entitlement. We should have this and that. We are entitled to everything. We are blessed, but now we will not be. The Lord will show us what we truly need to be thankful for. That was our God. Exodus 8, plagues of flies. Beelzebub, the god of the flies. Psalm 78:45. He sent diverse source of flies among them, which devoured, and frogs which destroyed them. Escalades 10:1. Dead flies cause the ointment which could cause all called a stinking. Stinking means morally offensive. He was also called Baal. What's our God, America? The God of tolerance. America wants everything to be politically correct. It's all over television. We care about freedom and our rights. We do whatever we feel like we worship and feel like. In America, this is a God of tolerance. What we have tolerated will turn us to be like a swarm of flies in your house. Uncleanness. There will be nothing to do about it.